Okie dokie. Welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner, classics slash non-classics. This is episode number 1319 and Doubleshot number 1212. Yep, I have two Spider-Man trades. Like I mentioned a couple times, basically this trade was the last trade this writer worked on before he left the company. What book is this? You probably can see it. Spider-Man Torment. Yes, collecting the first 5 issues of the commonly referred to as the Adjectiveless Spider-Man series, released in 1990. Yep, these issues are written and drawn by Todd McFarlane. And the thing with this story is, this is the last Marvel book that I can think of he did at Marvel, and then he left to form Image. Yeah, this was early 90s because he got tired of basically being disrespected at Marvel, with him basically not getting a lot of credit and not getting a lot of control of characters he created. So that's why he and a bunch of people left. I will discuss that in a comic book history video when I get a chance. Yep. Now, what is the storyline? Torment is simply put Spider-Man having their fight with the Lizard. Yep. Now, also, this is something quite interesting though. I was talking about the cover for these issues. Basically, on the cover, yeah, look at these covers. These are the actual covers. Like, I actually own some of these issues, believe it or not. And on the cover, you can see right here, this blue box. It says Legend of the Ark Knight. Yeah, I don't know if that was a play on Batman, but that's basically what it is. Oh, if you're curious though, first issue collector's item. Specular Boom. That's the reason for that. Yep. This is, of course, one of those Marvel Premiere Edition trades. That's what they said with this hardcover is. It's a Marvel Premiere Edition. Where it simply put a restored, like, it's basically took those original, it put them in trade and restored it with the modern coloring system. Which, yeah, it's really, really good. Yes, it's Todd McFarlane's artwork from early 90s. Yep. And he did this book right after he wrapped up his time doing the artwork for Amazing Spider-Man. Yep, he was given this book and then he left. Yeah, he left. He left the book after this opening story arc. And as far as I can tell, he's never come back to Marvel. Other Image creators have come back to Marvel to do some Canadian work with Todd McFarlane. Nope. He never has. He is stuck with Image. Probably because he knows to be a good businessman and he has control over Spawn. Yep. You gotta love, basically, this cover. Now, I should also point out that the first issue cover has been homaged a few times over the years. I believe this cover was homaged by, not Venom, per se. I think it was I think it was the Scarlet Spider series did homage his cover. Yep. But for the opening story of the series, it's good. And of course, next one he fights the Hobgoblin, which I think that was the purpose of this series before I got tied up with the whole thing with the Clone Saga, was that we have Spider-Man facing up against various villains. Heck, I think it was during the 3rd or 4th story of the series, he had his 3rd round fight with the Sinister Six. It was a storyline known as The Revenge of the Sinister Six. Yep. But for an opening story of the series, it was good. Really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. It's a damn good book. And it's basically, it proves that Todd McFarlane is definitely a good writer, as well as a good artist too. He can balance it really well. But he was fed up. He left Marvel with Eric Larson, Mark Silvestri, Rob Liefeld, along with these 3 guys and 4 other people. They later formed Image Comics, which is still around to this very day. It's surprisingly still around, despite the fact it suffered through some financial troubles. McFarlane is by far the only one of the partners at Image who actually has been financially successful on his own without having somebody like Marvel oversee him. Because he's gotten rich off of the Spawn comics, his line of toys. Heck, even the Spawn live-action movie, and I think he did have a hand in the anime series for HBO for Spawn. So, anything related to Spawn, he has pretty much made a lot of money out of. Yeah, he's the only one of the actual partners who actually become a millionaire. Yes, though I have heard, despite the fact that the guy is a great writer and good artist, I have heard the guy himself is a jerk. Oh my gosh, the guy's a jerk. I mean, the guy went through 2 lawsuits. Yes, 2. First, it was a rapper who actually sued him over using his name for a gangster, which he did not receive permission for. The other lawsuit was against was basically Neil Gaiman suing him over the character Angela, which Neil Gaiman won. And then Neil Gaiman sold the character to Marvel because here's the thing. By the time he actually won the case, Angela had been dead for some time at Spawn. In Image, she appeared in first issue 8 and she died in issue 100. So, yeah, and also apparently he had trouble. Well, not as much as, let's say, Rob Liefeld comes to paying his employees, but he, at times, basically would screw people over. I don't know if he ever did it to Alan Moore, because Alan Moore did a couple issues for Spawn, but in the case of Neil Gaiman, yeah, he screwed him over, which, yeah, Neil Gaiman had right to basically sue him for Angela, but not over the other character he created, the Consigliere, I think his name is, the guy who trained Spawn. Yeah, he didn't sue him with that character, but Angela he did, which he won. Yep. It's surprising that Marvel has never actually asked Image to use the original Angela comics that they published and put it in trade. Probably because they don't own the rights to the character anymore. It's possible. Alright, moving on to a different Spider-Man book. This is more recent. This is Marvel Spider-Man City at War. This is an adaptation of the Marvel Spider-Man video game that was released in 2017. Yep. This is written by Dennis Hopeless Holland. Yeah, basically Dennis Hopeless. Artwork by... Now, the cover art, I believe it's done by Clayton Crane. Awesome artist. The interior artwork of these issues is most done by Michael Bandai. And issue 5 was done by Luca Mancina. Yeah, this book pretty much like... I have never... Now, here's the thing. I have never played the Marvel Spider-Man 2017 video game. I've never played it. I have heard that this guy in the video game, he is voiced by the same guy who voiced Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto. Yes, that voice actor, Yue, I think his name is, he also voices Peter Parker. Which, that's interesting. It makes it like the first, like, no, I'm sure he probably has other non-anime stuff that he's done voiceovers for, but this is the first one I can think of he's done for an American character, like Spider-Man. Now, I'm not sure how he sounded basically as Spider-Man, but I have heard that the game itself is really good. And yes, I did hear about the sequel. I had never played it. I did hear it was nominated for some awards. It did win some awards, but rightfully so. And the winner of the Game of the Year award should have not gone to The Last of Us Part 2, because that game was so negatively received. Though the theory rolling around the internet, the reason why that game won that particular award was because the studio paid off the people who gave out the awards by giving the award to Last of Us Part 2 over games like Ghost of Tsushima or Miles Morales Spider-Man. Which I have heard Ghost of Tsushima is actually a really good game. But this, now, thing is, since this is part of the, like, this is basically part of the imprint, this is, look at here, this is Gameverse. My guess is this is probably Marvel's line of books that basically are adapted from the current video games. That's probably what this is. This is the first of, I think, 3 miniseries that features the video game version of the character. Now, if you notice the costume, it's very similar to the costume that Peter Parker wore in Spider-Man Home, because he had his last costume wore in the movie based upon his attire. And I've spoken to people, and yeah, they do agree that that costume, the costume he made in the movie, is heavily inspired by this. Also, they do show like the bottom of the feet. It's interesting though, they put these like little like things at the bottom, like these. It's almost like when you look at the suit, it's almost like it's made of metal. It's almost like it's a metal Spider-Man suit, kind of similar to the Batman Arkham video games. Interesting to say the least. I mean, I don't mind this idea. I mean, for a video game, this is perfectly fine. And yeah, this isn't just an adaptation of the game, so No problem with this at all. And the story for this one is that Spider-Man faced up against this universe version of the Sinister Six, which comprised of Dr. Octopus. They also revealed that Peter was actually partially responsible for creating the robotic arms Octopus. That's interesting. Yeah, this is the second time I can think of. Actually, third time I can think of where Peter had history with Dr. Octopus before becoming Dr. Octopus. The only time this happened was in Spider-Man 2 with Alpha Melonia and the Spider-Man anime series from the 1980s. This is actually a really cool idea. I mean, yeah, they had history together, so that's perfectly fine because they're both scientists. We also have appearances by a few different people. I think even the Vulture was up in here. Yeah, and by the way, they even have the first character who basically Spider-Man fights in the start of this miniseries is none other than Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. I'm like, that's an interesting start, starting off with that, and also having him wear the combat costume, which is interesting, before switching out a different costume. And of course, we have Dr. Octopus, who's in silhouette. Yep, here he is, Dr. Octopus. Yep, but they're not the only one pop up in here. And look, here's the costume, the comic book, which, yeah, it looks like freaking armor. Which, I think that's great for Spider-Man. After all, he basically goes through a lot of bullets. The characters with a mask, I think these characters are related to, like, the white... I think, like, this is stuff related to... Oh, yes. Mr. Negative. Yeah, he's here, too. We also have Miles here in the universe, and yes, Mary Jane's here as well, so don't worry about that. This woman, I believe, is Detective Wannabe, I think her name is. Yes, I believe that's her. Let's see if I can find, because they actually have a really cool page of the Sinister Six's universe. Because we also have Fast here, because of course we have that Fast. And also, look, it's Silver Sable. Wow. That's cool. I love the fact we have Silver Sable here. And look, Mr. Negative. I don't know if a lot of these characters did Pin Vic. I'm sure they probably did. Let's see. I know there's a page here. They have like a 2-page spread. Like, oh look, here's Dr. Octopus, what he looks like in the suit. Yep, that's Dr. Octopus. Interesting. That's an interesting idea. Let's see if we can find them here. Okay, here they are. The Sinister, well, kind of looks like the Sinister Six. You have Rhino, Mr. Negative, Scorpion, Electro, Vulture, and of course probably Dr. Octopus. Yeah, this is roughly about... Here's what they look like. Rhino, I think, looks pretty good. Vulture looks fantastic. Scorpion looks different. I love the fact that his suit is very similar to a 616 attire. And Electro. Which is interesting, yes. Plus, you gotta love the clear homage to Amazing Fantasy 15. I love the fact in the book they made a homage to that. Yes. I mean, anybody who's read Spider-Man comics a lot over the years can tell that this page is a clear homage to Amazing Fantasy 15. Yep. Oh, and also, Miles gets bitten by a spider, which gives him powers as of the spin-off game featuring Miles Morales. Yep. Ends up pretty happy now after beating, well, Dr. Octopus. We also have a new suit for Spidey. Oh, look. Of course, he also... Aunt May dies in this book, too. I don't know if she did. I'm sure she did. And look, here's this brand new suit, which I believe this is inspired by his bulletproof costume he briefly wore back in, I think it was like 2011. I think it was. Yeah. Debuted during Dan Slott's run when he briefly lost his spider sense. It was known for being bulletproof, and also it helps him basically as a substitute for his spider sense. He only wore it very briefly before he went back to his classic costume. And, of course, at the end of the book, Peter finds out that Miles has got the spider powers. Yep. Overall, really good book. In this book, roughly a 9.5 out of 10. If you fan the video game, you probably realize, though, yeah, this book is a pretty faithful adaptation of the game itself. And yes, hopefully we'll get a chance to get the hand sequels. There's one featuring the Black Cat. And I think this one focused on Miles. I know there's like 2 more miniseries focused on Marvel Spider-Man character. But I'll hope for those soon. If they are out, I'll probably get them. Also, in case you're curious, this book was $19.99. That's how much this book was. Yeah, for a miniseries to collect 6 issues. For Spider-Man, I'm not that surprised because it's Peter. So, why not? I like Spider-Man Noir, which is like $15.99. Though I have heard a mild criticism about the Spider-Man Noir. People thought that the original book was terrible. What book were they reading? I mean, I read the original miniseries and the sequel. I love them. They're freaking good. So I have no idea what the heck they're talking about. Yep. But as in the case of this is pretty much it for this particular review. In the case of other videos, I don't think I have any more planned for today. I will definitely have one to come tomorrow, and that'll be a review for the newest episode of Attack on Titan. In the case of Comic Corners, well, there's like one more I can do. But unless I get done today, it probably won't be get done until tomorrow. Okay? But do this next video. Bye.